Hey everybody, this is Liz Klingseisen with RAW, and I have a very special guest today. I'm going to kind of let her introduce herself, but her name is Isabelle Guarino-Smith, and I'm super excited to bring her onto the podcast today. So welcome, Isabelle.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you reaching out and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, definitely. So tell me a little bit about your life before real estate. Was there anything in your background that really prepared you for real estate or led you into it?
Interestingly enough, my dad and I started, our business together and he had a ton of real estate experience, but me, not so much. I was a flight attendant after graduating college and, I did a couple of, things in college, but nothing in the real estate world. I watched my dad do it from afar my whole life, as I'm sure you did with your mom, but
Yeah.
it's different. I wasn't in it until residential assisted living. And I'm kind of happy about that because I've heard a lot of traumatic stories from other real estate investors.
I get that. I mean, I've worked with my mom and she has so many stories, but yeah, that's awesome. Another, parent child duo. Love it. I would say mother daughter, but we have a different here, father daughter duo. And I love
Yeah.
that. So tell me, how'd you actually get into real estate? What sparked your interest? And yeah, what happened?
Yeah. So with residential assisted living, my grandmother fell, she broke her hip and the doctor said, hey, she can't go home alone. She needs 24/7 care. So when any family, runs into that situation, it's like, okay, what are you going to do? So you can quit your job and take care of your loved one full time. That wasn't going to work for us. Everybody had full blown careers and it was like, no one's going to just stop. You can get in-home care, which is incredibly expensive, or obviously put them into a facility or a home. And, you feel kind of icky when you say that, like put them into a home. No, I can't do that. But we searched and searched for something suitable for my grandmother. She was in upstate New York at the time. And we found nothing that I want to leave my goldfish, let alone my grandma. It was like, no way, Jose. So
Sure.
we were living in Arizona and we figured there's so many more older people out there. There's got to be some other options. So we went back to Arizona and kind of stumbled into residential assisted living. And my dad, being the real estate investor that he was, said, hey, I don't want to just write a check for $5,000 a month for her to live in this home. I'd rather, he did the numbers real quick. He's like, if I own this, I'll be cash flowing 10K and she can live for free. So he asked the lady, hey, can I buy your business? And she was like, yeah. And we sat down, had a full combo about it. He had no idea, had never been in this industry. And he jumped right in with the intent to move my grandmother in. My grandma passed before we could move her in, but he fell in love along the way. And then all of us, me and my siblings, were looking at him like, hey, you used to be this cranky guy complaining about tenants and toilets, complaining about people not paying rent. What's going on? All of a sudden, he's happy. He's taking us on vacation all the time, spending time with us. And we were like, what is going on here? And so we started asking more questions. And then he would invite us to come to the homes. And we're like, homes for old people? What are you doing? But he loved it. And then we all started to fall in love. So over the course of the next years, I pretty much just was asking him every day, like, hey, can I get involved? Can I help? Can I do this? Can I do that? And just kind of started wiggling my way in until I became the COO of all of his companies.
That's amazing. I love that. And it's just funny how you can just reinvent yourself on the fly just because something sparks your interest and there you are. And all of a sudden you're owning assistant living homes when you didn't even know that was a thing at the time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So tell me, where are you at now and what are your current investments?
Yeah. So right now we own and operate 3 residential assisted living homes here in Arizona. And then right now we invest in other students' homes across the country. So in our training academy, we're teaching investors throughout all of the nation how to own and operate these. And that's really where I've found my passion, not just owning my businesses, but really helping other people start their businesses. That is so much fun for me, watching nothing grow to something. It's like, oh my gosh. And just being able, honestly, selfishly being able to see that experience that I saw with my dad, people going from not necessarily the happiest, working really hard, to make some cash flow, to like having one of these feeling like they're making a massive impact and cash flowing. It's like that transition that you see in people. They literally look younger, brighter, fresher. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I love that.
Coaching's phenomenal in that way. I love that. So tell me a little bit, how would someone get started in assistant living investments?
So in our training, we teach you the 4 different ways that you could get started. One, you could buy land and build a custom RAL home from the ground up. Most states allow you to have anywhere between 6 and 16 residents in a home. And most seniors want private bedrooms, private bathrooms. So these are large homes. These are upscale homes. Even though I say single family, there could be a single family with 5 or 6 kids who all have their own bedroom, so definitely not like a 3-bed, 2-bath. We're talking like bigger, more beautiful, luxurious homes in nice parts of town. But you could build one from the ground up. You could buy a single family home and convert it to become one, which is what we've done with 2 of our properties. So we purchased them and we renovated them to have more private bedrooms and bathrooms, to have senior safe features, accessibility, things of that nature. You can buy an existing business. So if you live in a market where these exist, like I was sharing my dad did with his first one, you could buy the real estate, buy the business, you're up and running, cash flowing right away. The 4th way to get involved, if you're lacking in the financial department, is you could lease a home from someone and do this within that home. So you're just paying that leasing fee and getting started in that way. So those are kind of the 4 different ways we teach to get started.
That's awesome. And I know your team is really big on educating those on RAL for the real care that seniors need. And for those that are still learning what the difference is between RAL and a big box facility, what kind of education do you offer on that?
Yeah, so there are so many differences between a big facility, right? Like a Brookdale, a Sunrise, an Atrium. Obviously, they're a lot more hospital-like feel, right? When you walk in, it's long hallways, impersonal staff. I'll tell you this is really sad, but it's very true. The staff in a big facility are genuinely told, do not connect with the residents. That's sad.
That's
They're
so
told
sad.
that because there's too many of them. They don't want them to get emotionally attached, and they don't want them wanting to go visit one when it's like they have usually a 15-to-1 caregiver to resident ratio. One person cannot take care of 15 people. Like, it's not okay. It's not acceptable. But the way that the system's being run, what else are they going to do? Like, they're trying to do their best. They got into this industry to care for people. It's not like they wanted to neglect these seniors, but the situation is guiding them down that path. So in our homes, it's usually a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 ratio, which is unheard of in the assisted living world, which is insane. That should be normal, right?
Normal. Yeah.
And then our caregivers, it's the same people in that working with those seniors every day. So they know their names, they know their stories, their war stories, their divorce stories, their whatever stories they've got. They know these people. Like, genuinely, when someone passes in the home, they're all like, can we take off and go to the funeral? Like, they're that connected to the seniors. It's a totally different emotional experience. And then physically, obviously, that's a big commercial building that's housing way more seniors. Ours is a single family home being, used for seniors instead of 2 kids and a dog and a mom and dad.
I love that. I love it. You're going to sell me on this. So TikTok seems to be a hit for you guys. So tell me what it looks like for all generations wanting to learn how to help seniors, and how can we find you on TikTok as well?
Yes, we love TikTok. So we're RAL.Academy on TikTok. And it is so much fun on there, because at first I thought, oh God, it's only 13 to 15-year-olds. Like, this is not our audience. And then we just started having fun and being silly with it. And we get a lot of haters, but we get a lot of fun interactions too. And I really think that this industry is amazing, because we have students who were 22 when they got started, and now they're cash flowing $15,000 a month on one home. We have other students who were 70 when they got started. Like, it does not matter. You can do this at any stage, at any age. And I love that, because I do feel like TikTok is a uniting place. Most people who are on there are probably on there to spy on their kids, but when they get hit with our stuff, they're like, oh, this is fun. So I think it's great. I think it's a really fun way just to connect in a silly, fun way. But yeah, definitely any age you can get started in this. There's really nothing stopping you but what's between your 2 ears, right? I mean, that's what holds us back in life.
Yes. Okay, so what type of returns are people and investors looking for when they choose this over an investment building? And when you say it generates more than 50 units, can you explain more for us?
Yeah. So let's say you did own an apartment complex. Maybe each apartment is maybe a 50 apartments in the complex, right? And each one's bringing you in $500 a month, right? Like that's what the owner's actually taking home, which is pretty normal in most apartment world, right? If
Yeah,
not a little lower in certain apartments, but that's $25,000 a month. So one RAL home, depending on where it is, like I said, you can have 6 to 16 seniors. So if we had 16 seniors and they're paying 6 or 7 grand a month, this home's bringing you in 30 or $40,000 a month. So the average cost of assisted living, I should say this, in our nation today is $4,500 a month. But that's average. And remember, I said I didn't want to leave my grandma, or let alone my goldfish. Like the average homes
right? Yeah.
are the ones that you walk into and you're like, oh no, like they're not good. So usually it's the above average homes that we're focusing on. We call it the sweet spot, level 3, level 4 homes. So above average, nicer neighborhoods in more affluent parts of town. We're definitely not doing any like government pay. It's a lot of private pay.
Sure.
But people all across the country are paying 5, 6, 7, $8,000 a month to be living in these homes. In all 50 states, we have students everywhere. So it's definitely possible. And just one of these homes can be bringing in a whole lot of money.
I love that. That sounds awesome. Okay. So a lot of people have fear of these investments coming into their neighborhood, like examples of bringing down value. And you actually think that's the opposite, right? So does it actually increase the neighborhood value for you to do that?
I don't know that it increases it, but I do think when people have fear, right? NIMBY, not in my backyard, they call it, right? When
Yeah.
people have fear of that, I'm always like, okay, so would you be fearful if one 95-year-old was living next to you? Because if they fall and break their hip or something happens to them, a ambulance is going to have to come. Is that going to piss you off? Like it actually sounds crazy when you say it out loud, right?
Right.
And most of these seniors, first of all, there's 24/7 care there. There's caregivers who are on site all day, every day, an administrator who's overseeing them. You own the real estate and the business, so you don't have to visit nearly that often. I go to my homes every other month. We've set them up very passively, but there's 24/7 people there who are awake even at night. So to
Yeah.
me, that's a house you want to have in your neighborhood, because if
Seriously.
something's going on, a lot of old people like to sit and look out the window and kind of see what's happening in the neighborhood, right? So you're having 24/7 care watch, right, in the neighborhood. You have someone who's never out of town. So if you need your little trash bins taken out, we'll take them out. Like we're the best neighbors ever. Also, if you have a loved one who eventually needs care, if they could live 2 doors down from you and you could go visit them there at their home, that'd be awesome. So it doesn't devalue a neighborhood because there's really nothing changing or happening within the home other than there's seniors living there instead of a family, right? The renovations that are happening are usually making the home larger, bigger, or better. So the comps are a little bit off for those homes, but it doesn't change anyone else's homes, because when we sell ours, we're selling the real estate plus the business. So it's going to be an astronomically higher price point than someone who's just selling their house in the neighborhood.
Love it. Love it. I mean, I live in Cape Coral. So when I say we're like an old people capital of the world, it's like literally all my neighbors. I'm the young one on the block. I'm taking care of it all. But to have that help would be amazing, because I have a neighbor across the street that I genuinely worry about because he's so much older and he lives alone. So I totally get that. So do you feel that this is recession proof, and why do you feel so, if so?
I do feel it is recession resistant. I don't like to claim anything's recession proof, but recession resistant, yes.
Yeah.
Because I always say this, like, let's say you're debating between investing in an Airbnb, which also has very high cash flow, or RAL. To me, Airbnb, money gets tight, inflation, recession, gas prices, whatever, money's tight, you're going to stop vacationing. That's one of the first things to go. And when we're talking about our spending limits, it's like, okay, cut the vacay, cut the extra spending, cut this, cut that. So to me, that's one of the first things to go away. You do not rip your loved one out of assisted living when they're in a home. This is their home, their 24/7 care. Unless you are prepared to quit your job and be that 24/7 caregiver, you're not going to take them out. if anything, when money's tight, people work more, not less. So if you're going to be working more, you don't have the time to care for mom or dad, you're not going to stop paying for it. In the last recession, we asked all the other homeowners, like, hey, how did this affect you? What did you see? And they were like, what? Recession? Like, it didn't affect us, because this is a need-based industry instead of a luxury or spending-based industry. Although the price is expensive to live there, it's not something that you just stop paying for. You don't abandon your loved ones.
No, I love that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of people think of it that way, right? And so for you to explain that, that's phenomenal. And how often do you visit the homes?
So we run ours extremely hands-off. And because we teach mostly real estate investors, that's the kind of the method I like to show them to do. I probably have a once a week phone call with our manager. So I'm checking in with her, making sure everything's, set properly. And if she needs anything, I'm there for her. But I only visit like every other month. Most of the seniors, the families, the caregivers, they don't even know I'm the owner. And I'm okay with that. I don't need them to know I'm the owner. They report to the manager, the administrator, and that's who they think runs it all. And I'm totally cool with that. We have students who want to be involved more often, whether they come from a medical background, maybe a doctor or a nurse, and they enjoy visiting the home and they want to do this. That's totally fine. You can visit as much as you like. We have another guy, he's like 20, today's his birthday. He's 27. I was going to say he's 26, but he's 27. I just texted him this morning. He's one of our students, and he visits his home every morning because his caregivers cook him breakfast. And so he's like, oh, I'm going every day to check on it because I want my eggs and my coffee and whatever. And I'm like, you are so funny. But yeah, so it totally depends. You don't have to visit that often, but you can. The way we show you how to do this is quite hands off. I want to teach you the ultimate, which is our position being extremely hands off. And then if you choose to take any role in between, that's totally fine.
I love that. Yeah, we have a lot of students that prefer more of a hands-off approach because the reason you get into real estate is for that freedom, and whether that's freedom of finances or time or what have you, you get into that. And so I love that. So let's talk a little bit about like what your biggest mistake has been so far and what you learned from it. Because what I've been focusing a lot, especially this week, is I see a lot of people are fear of mistakes, and I'm like, don't be scared of them because you learn so much. So tell me, what was your biggest mistake so far and what you learn from it?
That's a really great question. I would say one of our biggest mistakes would be, let me think.
Right.
No, I would say one of our actually at one point. So at one point, remember how I said one of the options to get involved was you could lease a property from someone who owned it, right? And you could start the home that way. So we were on the opposite end of it. We owned the real estate and the business. Well, someone wanted to run the business. So we were like, oh, okay, let's try this because this might be fun for us to own the real estate. We've already retrofit it. Let's let them run the business. They're going to pay us twice the fair market rent. They're signing a 5-year contract with us because they're trying to put roots. They're trying to establish a business, and we're not in charge of any maintenance. So we're like, okay, this will be cool. This would be another way to be super hands off. So we started working with this operator, and although he was a doctor, so many things went amiss. And then he was just relying a lot on us, even though we had set it up that it was like, no, this is yours now, And I think that the contract was not written the way it needed to be. Big mistake, because contracts are everything, because then you can point back and say, here is everything here. So we learned so much in that. But the best part is I like mistakes because that was a big mistake. We lost a lot of time, energy, and money. We ended up buying it back from him and taking it back over because he started kind of running it into the ground a little bit. And so that sucked, right? But you learn. Now our contract is tighter than ever. We've used it since with another operator, and everything is perfect. They pay us, we don't deal with it, everything's great. So in the long run, it worked itself out. And now we really gained a big lesson from it by tightening up that contract. But sometimes you don't know. You jump in and you have to be willing to make those mistakes. So I appreciate that.
When you know better, you can do better, right? When you know better, you can do better. So tell me a little bit about what are you most proud of and to what do you attribute your success?
Oh, I love this. So my dad, who I shared with you, we kind of started doing this together. He passed away in October. And so, when he passed, it was like, okay, the last 8 years of my life have been dedicated to all of this, but he was like the main stage speaker, presenter. He was traveling all over the world. I was behind the scenes for 8 years, like the go-to gal, but behind the scenes. And I was terrified to do anything like this, do a podcast, jump on stage, do a webinar. I don't know. It was so scary to me. I was like, no, please no. But he was gone. So what were we going to do? So I'm actually really proud of that I have kind of just decided we have to continue his legacy. We have to keep this going forward. Nothing in life is constant except change. So we got to go with the flow. We got to keep it moving. We got to make changes. We got to do things we're fearful of, jump in front of audiences and on podcasts and just make it happen. And it's been a lot of fun. And I definitely feel like he is shining down on me. And I feel like I'm doing a good job keeping the legacy going forward. So I'm very proud of that.
Oh, I love that so much. I mean, I can relate so much with it, just working with my mother, and how there are times you have to just push yourself outside of that limit. And I'm glad to see that it worked out for you and you're doing so well. So 2 more questions I have for you. So what do you wish you would have known at the beginning that you now know?
Oh, I think when I first got into this, like, because my dad had been in real estate, I really thought this is just a real estate play. And I thought that's really all it was. I did not understand or grasp the emotionality of this industry. It is so much more than a real estate play. You are dealing with lives, people's loved ones, end of life care. I mean, it's really serious. And the families that come to you, they're crushed during this time of life. They are guilty. They might be angry. They might be sad. They're freaking out because typically we call her daughter Judy. It's the 50 to 70-year-old who is looking for the care for mom or dad, maybe paying for the care for mom or dad, checking in on mom and dad. It's almost always a daughter. So sometimes it's a son. We call him son Bob, but daughter Judy is usually the one. And the emotionality involved in her process is something to be so aware of and just keen to, because you have to meet her where she is, then let her know we've got mom, like we're gonna help, we're gonna take care, like you're good. And so she can take a deep breath, because she's holding so many plates at once, her own potential kids, her own husband, her own job, and now her mom on top of her own life. It's like she's spinning plates everywhere and she's stressed to the max. So I think I just did not recognize or realize that until I started helping with like the tours of the families who would come in, and then seeing that and just talking to them and just realizing, oh, like obviously we experienced it, but it was a little different. It was my grandmother, so it was once removed.
Yeah.
And I wasn't full-time in charge of it. It was more like my dad, right? And his siblings. This is like you're dealing with that person. And so I think that that's really important to note, is that making a lot of money is cool, but making an impact is cooler. You're changing these families' lives. When you see daughter Judy come back after week 2 or week 3, and she's relaxed, relieved, understands mom has good care, that means everything. That's like, I'm doing a good job, like the money's cool, but the impact is cooler.
I love that. You're the second person that has mentioned impact in the last week, and it's more than just the money. And I agree with that. So what 3 best tips of advice do you have for a woman who wants to succeed in your business?
Ooh, okay. I don't know if these are woman tips, but they're just
tips. To all.
They're human tips. Okay. No, I would say when you want to get started in this industry, number 1, location is going to be your key. Yes, you can do this anywhere, but you want to make sure that you're located properly. Not only is that going to help you finding the right staff, but marketing to the right people and filling your home and staying full. So like location is everything. Obviously it's real estate, but there's like certain things you're looking for in RAL that might be a little different than anything else. Number 2, it is the opportunity that matters, not the investment. It does not matter if the home is over $1 million. Do not be afraid of that. You can make this work. If the opportunity works out, if the numbers run, don't be scared. It's okay. You can do this. So I think that's really important to remember.
Really good
And
tip.
then, yeah. And then I think number three, I always say that the number one trait that our successful students have, no matter what they look like, man, woman, old, young, anything, is grit. You have to have grit in this industry. There are going to be hoops to jump through. This is not the easiest portion of real estate that you could get involved in. There's a lot of rules and regulations. There's a lot of licensing. There's a lot involved in this, and you have to have grit. Your why and your passion needs to be strong enough that you can refer back to it when you feel like quitting, and so you can keep pushing through and keep that moving forward. So location, the opportunity over investment, and grit.
I love that. So to close out, how do people get a hold of you and share anything else you feel you would like to share before we close out?
Sure. So we obviously have been talking a little bit about our training. So we host 3-day trainings. They're in Phoenix, Arizona. We host them about 8 times per year. We've got 4 left this year. You can find out about those at RALAcademy.com. There's also an online course that you can do at home, take at your own pace. But in those trainings, we basically teach people how to find their homes, fund their homes, and fill their homes. So it's really the A to Z program on getting started. So if you are serious about getting started, I would get registered for one of those courses. But if you just want to look around for more free info, we've got webinars, books, and phone calls, all sorts of free stuff at RAL101.com.
Well, thank you, Isabelle, so much for being on today. I'm sure you provided so much value. I'm sure people are going to love this and get to hear about it. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks for having me.